two takeaways I have here. Number one, what are the kinds of business models one can engage in, not just in D2C brands, but in say our industry more generally, right? Software. When it comes to software, entrepreneurs building in software typically have one or two standard models we look at. We try and build software and we sell it as a service. So we have SaaS, or we build some sort of vertical software integrated system where software brings in the efficiency and that's it. And of late, the conversation has introduced things like compound startups into the mix that are extensions of some of these business models. But I do wonder, what does the finance play look like when you combine it in something like a software space? Two things that this reminds me of very topically. Number one, in the All In podcast, Chamath keeps talking about his 1890 accelerator, which is basically, I mean, I don't know how serious he is about it, but it is basically an attempt to build this sort of constellation of small software businesses from 0 to 1, not acquired, under the understanding that moats in software aren't very strong, and you can build a lot of these companies quite rapidly and kill the incumbents, with the assumption that the distribution element is solved, which you can argue is just as true in software as it is in D2C brands, because the buyers are often the same enterprises that you would sell to. When you're selling a Slack, you could also go ahead and sell a Microsoft Office, and you could also go ahead and sell a Notion, because all three are the same customers and upselling is easy enough. I also use the word Constellation because when I knew that we were going to chat about Mensa Brands, I looked up this company called Constellation Software, which completely blew my mind, but is worth about 60 to 70 billion US dollars, and has been doing this for the last 30 years, where they almost to a fault value companies according to a very strict set of financial parameters, with their argument being that acquiring tons and tons of like these small niche tech companies can result in a very valuable whole, and they're a public company, so the market seems to agree with them. So yeah, lots of interesting learnings here, which I think is more broadly useful for us as an exercise, because we tend to look at our industries through a narrow lens, but when you broaden your horizon, you learn all of these other approaches and models.
And what you spoke about roll-up companies and these software companies, or are these roll-up companies that focus on software that exist across industries. So there's this company called EatFit that's started by Ankit Nagori that does a roll-up of restaurants. And I'm sure it exists in healthcare and every other segment out there. The software part of it is interesting. I hadn't heard about Constellation Software until you shared that with me. But there are other companies like Tiny, started by Andrew Wilkinson, that ends up acquiring a significant stake in various different businesses, and that's worth over like several $1 billion. So in a lot of ways, it makes sense. But the one underlying theme for every single one of these companies is capital. You either need to have made a lot of capital, or you need to be able to have raised a lot of capital to actually go on to end up acquiring these businesses. That's the most important part if you wanted to start a roll-up business in whichever vertical.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. To watch the full episode of our analysis on Mensa Brands, click on the video here.